Donna from Clever Crafting. Thank you very much for joining me today. So we're actually using some of the bits and pieces out of the January card kit. So we're using the stencil, we're going to use the Stampin' Dies, some of the cardstock, and the peacock feathers distress oxide I'm using today to match with my cardstock. That actually doesn't come in the kit. And you can see that I'd also cut out a couple of hearts. So we're going to start by using our stencil to create a nice subtle background on my matte piece of card, which is that beautiful pool color. You can see that I've attached that now to my card base just with some washi tape to keep it in place. And I'm just drawing a really faint line, just the width of my ruler. This doesn't have to be that wide, it can be narrower. It's just somewhere a guide for us for our partial die cutting. So I've grabbed the heart die and I'm just going to position it over that line. It doesn't matter. I actually want this skew width all over the place. So it doesn't really matter how you position it at any given time. You don't have to line it up as such, because that line that we drew is actually for our die cutting. So I've got my the spacer pad, the B pad, the cutting mat, and now I am just putting the C plate on top of that, and I've lined it up with that line that we drew. So I fed the C plate through, and then all the rest of it have gone through, and you can see it's only actually going to cut to that line. Actually cuts just a little bit over that line because of the extra pressure from the mat, but that's fine. So I'm just going to carefully remove that die, and you can see in this case it's cut right through, but it doesn't cut right through all of them, and I'll show you how you do it. You can deal with that a little bit later. And now I'm just going to re-put on that heart die, moving it further down, and I'm going to cut it again, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm placing it on my plate. I'm popping my C plate through, which is the top plate. I'm lining that one up just with the line, and so the pressure's only going to be on that short area, that small space, to cut through my dies, and you can see there. So this is where I said earlier it doesn't cut all the way through, so you can in actual fact just reposition that die because it leaves enough of a dent in there for you to kind of slip it in a little bit like a puzzle piece. So you can do that, or if you like you can hand cut. I just put them all through my die cutting machine. Once you've done that, you need to just trim off the excess. So I am just trimming that to those where the hearts have cut. So that is cut off my piece of cardstock there. Then it's just a matter of grabbing an eraser and getting rid of that faint pencil line. In actual fact, you don't even really need to get rid of the pencil line because we're going to be sticking hearts over the top of it, so you probably won't see it anyway. But you can see that because of the way we've done that, those two fit together perfectly, and I've got my nice little border around the other areas of the card. Okay, so now these die cuts that I prepared earlier. So I stamped all of these in just black VersaFine ink. You can see 4 of the hearts. I didn't do the solid heart, I just did the other 4 patterned ones. Now, 4 of them I embossed with clear embossing powder. That was just to make them a little bit shinier. And then I fussy cut them right up to the edge of the stamping. The other ones were just stamped. I didn't put embossing powder on them, any clear embossing powder. And I cut them with the dies. And they're going to go on the back on the inside of the card. The reason that I do that is so for the front ones I fussy cut them so I'll have a nice little edge, and you will see that a little bit later on when I position them. But right now all I'm doing is using some scrap cardboard to give me a little bit of dimension and put on the back of those hearts on all 4 that'll go on the front. So I also want to put my greeting in a heart, and I want to make sure that it fits. So I've used my heart die and I've just penciled out a little heart. Then I've positioned the first part of my greeting. The greeting that I've chosen today is My Heart Is Yours. And the first part, My Heart Is, will fit in the top part of that heart. And you can see that I've just used some masking tape over the word yours. And I'm going to remove that masking tape after I've put the ink on, and then I'm going to stamp it. Now, as a general rule, normally I just cut my stamps, but I know that some of you don't like to, so I thought I would show you an alternative. So now I've just really well cleaned my stamp. That doesn't sound very good, does it? I've cleaned my stamp very well, I think is the correct way of saying that. I've positioned that so the yours is where I want it. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to cover up the rest of the stamp with my piece of masking tape there. I'm going to ink up the word yours. Then I'm going to remove my masking tape and I'm going to stamp it onto the heart. Once I've completed that, all I'm going to do is erase that pencil mark and then use my die to cut out the heart. I then actually inked up the edges with the same peacock feathers that I used for my stencil. You can see how now where I'm sticking those on, and they leave that nice little edge, that pool blue edge, because I fussy cut them. All right, I've just grabbed a bit of black cotton to add a little bit of texture and a little pop of color. And I just love the way this looks. I mean, I guess it's not for everyone, but for me, I think it's fabulous. I really, really like it. So I am just grabbing a bit of glue. I'm going to glue this flat. You could put some more cardboard underneath this. It would work exactly the same as what I'm doing right here. But I actually wanted my greeting flat on that little bit of cotton thread, sewing thread. Now I am just sticking that in. You can see that it'll line up perfectly, and I'm just going to line up those heart edges, and that's where you can really see that lovely blue teal is all around the edges there of my hearts. I didn't do this on camera, but I stuck all of the other hearts on the inside, so that keeps everything nice and neat, and you can see that I added a little bit of bling as well. Okay, so that completes the card for today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you would like to see some more examples on this, hop on over to our Facebook group, because this is actually a class that I did on Friday just gone. So I do online classes every Friday. If you're interested, just leave a comment below or pop on over to our Facebook page to see more information about them. They're online, so you can be anywhere in the world to do them. And you'll see that there's a lot of different examples. So here's a couple of other examples that I decided to put at the end of this video for you all to see today. And you can see I've done this one with hearts. So anyway, once again, thank you so very much for joining me. Please stay safe and happy crafting.